down. They rush 4. Plenty of time for John. Now squeezes, steps up in the pocket. LA can run inside the 10. Head first. He dives off the 5-yard line.
65 horsepower trap. It might pop wide open, Rats.
It's in there! Is that there, Rats? Oh, touchdown, baby! Yes, sir, Rats. High snap. It's no good. The Chargers. Here comes the rush. He sidesteps. Can he throw? He can't. The ball flipped forward is loose. A wild scramble. 2 seconds on the clock. Casper grabbing the ball. It is ruled a fumble. Casper is recovered in the end zone. The Oakland Raiders have scored on the most seedy.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us here on the Wild Wild West podcast. This is going to be a great show for you guys today. Well, we are going to break down the wide receivers of the AFC West. We're also going to go into a little bit of NFL news. There's been a little bit of movement on a few other topics we've discussed on previous shows. My name is Richie Richey of the MHRT Network. Over to my right on the screen is Coach Defense of the Locked On Defense podcast. Links below down in the description of each and every video you're watching right now. And directly below is the man, the legend, Captain Jack Rackham. How are we all doing tonight?
You always got to wait for that. I don't say anything. Once you introduce him, I don't say a word until he gets his little rant out. You had to get that out before we even do anything else. So, all right.
Hey,
so, yeah.
Hey, it's got to be done. It's got to be done, man.
Hey, according to you, it does. According to you, it does. So welcome to the Wild Wild West podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Both fam, salute you. Appreciate everybody in the chat. Cap, you good down there?
What you're waiting for here is he's just going to throw you for a loop and just bring in a parrot one of these days.
Yeah, I'm waiting for that. I'm definitely waiting for that.
Actually, I actually considered that. There's there's like a gray parrot, which is actually the very smartest of all the parrots. And I don't remember what the name of it is, but it's a gray parrot, so it obviously goes with the color scheme. But they're quite effing expensive.
I believe that. All birds are expensive.
So,
anything that's just a pet.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And before we get started on the show tonight and get right into the topics at hand, I just want to thank all of you for joining us live tonight here on the podcast. It is always great having a large audience here to throw questions at us, complain, make fun of me, whatever floats your boat, that's fine. But I really do appreciate anyone joining us live this evening. Just going through a few names here quickly in the chat, just to give everyone their due and their shout out. I just want to thank Avatar. He's a longtime MHRT Network fan. We have the Numbers, Raiders Zach, Anthony. I recognize most of these folks here from your show, Captain. We have Furious Styles. I'm going to take a wild guess and assume that you are a Chargers fan, rather.
So there's two of them.
Pardon me?
There are actually four in the chat right now.
Look,
in the chat right now.
I have a funny feeling with some of these offseason acquisitions.
No,
There's been some.
3. So Harper is 3. Wow, that's more Chargers fans in one place than I've ever seen, including games.
Sure, buddy. Sure.
Ronald, great to see you again. Thank you. We got Robert Carper here, Nutty Raider Nate, and apparently DZ knows your African gray is apparently the color that you are referring to.
That's it. Thank you there, DZ. Hey, DZ, find out how much they are, and let me know.
All right, so everyone has been shouted out in the chat. Like I said, we really, really appreciate you coming joining us live. For those of you that are not able to join us live due to timing or whatever, scheduling, whatever the case may be, you can find us after the fact on YouTube, which is where we really like interacting with you, because we can kind of get into those comments and have a little bit of a long form chat back and forth if we need to in the comment section. you can leave any one of those down below. And guys, let's get right into it. Captain, you want to maybe go first and give us some of your feedback on the Raiders wide receivers, where you think kind of your room ranks, maybe even give us some on the flip side of some of the things you'd like to see added to the room to kind of make up maybe deficiencies if you believe there are any.
Okay, well, can I let folks know that I'm a homework assignment ahead? We're all a homework assignment ahead.
Yeah, we got mixed up today, so.
Okay, yeah. I'm just saying, and I'm going to show you how awesome I am in a purely non-conceited way. Okay, we're talking about the wide receivers of the AFC West, and I said, oh, well, that's easy. The Raiders have the best wide receiver core in the AFC West, and oh yes, we do. Yes, we do. Because unlike Coach Defense, who will I take it back. I'm going to take a page out of Coach Defense's book, and I'm going to incorporate, you know how you had to incorporate the back folks with your defensive line last night? I'm going to incorporate the tight ends in this equation as well, because I'm going to, take a page out of Coach D for receiving core. Okay. Wideouts, NGL, not
gonna lie.
Hey, DZ, I love you, brother. And that's true. And the reason why I say that is when you can have, and I'll be, a little bit on the downside, when you can trade for what is undoubtedly a top 3, and I'll just say top 3 wide receiver in the National Football League. Okay. Not saying he's 1, not saying he's 2, but he's definitely a top 3 wide receiver throughout these past years. And I actually had to look that up because I was like, yeah, okay, he's a good receiver. But people are like, no, Captain, he is the number 1 receiver. And I'm like, worst O-line, I'm sorry, man. I got to pick something out of my nose, Carp.
This is gross.
That's for you, brother. Anyway.
That on my channel.
Hey, I do George Carlin all day. He did that a lot in his show.
I know. Yeah. That's just crazy. I don't know. Something about people picking a nose for me. I don't care what finger you do it with. It just.
Hey, if you gotta pick your nose, at least pick it with the number 1 finger, right? Anyway, but when you incorporate the best wide receivers with Devontae Adams, okay, and you have Renfro, who had over 100 catches, and actually was 1 catch away from tying the Raiders' record for catches in a season, and it was historic. Hey, thank you, DZ. I love George Carlin as a comedian. I'll just leave it at that. Okay, love him as a very, very wonderful gentleman as far as what he brought to the to the equation of humor. Anyway, you got Renfro, you got Devontae Adams, okay? And I'm going to throw in that Waller equation because Coach was like, well, I got to incorporate the linebackers into defensive back. You got Darren Waller, who is definitely a top 3 tight end in the NFL. If we're going to go Kittles, if we're going to go Kelsey, Waller is at least that 3rd tight end in the equation, okay? So if you got that, and we were talking, I can't remember which shows I talked, because I always talk about, maybe it was last night. I had talked about Renfro being the equivalent of Edelman and Wes Welker and Damian Amendola.
That was last week.
Yeah, or
last
week. Might have been last night. Could have been last week. But you got all that going for you, and then you pick up, I think his name is Keenan Cole, who could be that guy that spreads the offense. Okay. And there's other receivers that are there, okay? But they kind of fall off the wayside because once you get past Adams and Renfro and looking at Waller, and I'll throw Keenan Cole out there because I think he's going to be the guy that is that number 3 receiver out there. I would say no matter who else you got, our receivers are the best in the AFC West.
Okay. I mean, everybody's entitled to their opinion.
Yeah. Just like Coach D has his opinion on the defensive line, which includes everybody behind the defensive line. But that's fine.
Well, I like to give context and subject matter to my arguments. I don't just burn out things like I'm a talking head.
Did I not give context? I didn't even mention Foster Moreau, who's going to have a breakout year this year as well as the number 2.
That's Rich's buddy. Rich loves Foster Moreau.
I know he does.
Yeah.
But then again, I also like his
tight end. He really is.
Say it again, Rich.
Moreau's a great tight end.
No, so you love him. You talked about him.
Yeah, he's a fantastic tight end.
Oh, yeah.
I think I actually question whether or not he's going to work out really well in the base defense or offense rather you're going to be running. I actually think he's better suited for kind of like an outside zone style because he is a good block. He's a pretty good blocker as well as
I think he's one of the better ones.
Yeah.
So
he would really be better suited for that kind of dual purpose. Moreau, as an example, if you're going to kind of transport and kind of like compare people, I see him looking a lot like an Eric Saubert, who the Broncos have in the tight end room. Great inline blocker, and when utilized, really has receiving chops that are not necessarily seen as in that upper tier when they really deserve to actually get a little bit more talking than they get from even the local pundits in Denver. I also wonder if the Raiders kind of local media are giving Moreau the credit he deserves too. I do want to make one comment about it is that you did bring in tight ends into the receiving room. So I guess I'll give you I'm going to give you a 50% knock on that just to stay consistent. Because and let's just be real. You were the one that roasted Coach.
I did that deliberately. I did it deliberately because I said I'm going to take a page out of Coach Defense's book and I'm not going to do my homework assignment correctly.
Yeah. So I mean, look, I think it's fair given today's NFL with the tight ends being the receiving threats they are to like include them like a 50th percentile of what their actual job is on the team. So that's why I didn't go all the way to the level you did with bringing in linebackers into the defensive line discussion. But I think it is fair to kind of still make that comment. Now, the question I have for you is, how do they fit with Derek Carr? And I think this is a question that we all need to answer to the collective fans that are here in the chat with us live and after the fact. Having Davante Adams on your team, right? Clearly a top tier, upper 1 to 2 wide receiver in the NFL, at least proven already, right? But how do they fit with the quarterback that they're playing with? Do we believe that the scheme that they have been proven in, or the style of play that they've proven to be successful with, fits the quarterbacks that they're currently with now?
Well, since Alex isn't here, because I was going to bring up that, what's the name of that offense, Coach?
Amelia Earhart. The offense.
It's not the Amy Adams Amelia. No, it's the Fairbanks Earhart offense. Okay. And I take us back to long ago, okay, to 2016, when Derek Carr had Cook, who I know Coach knows about.
Unfortunately.
In that offense. Yeah, that guy who was – I tell you, if I had something and if I had a better arm, I definitely would have winged something at him last year at the end of season game. He was an ass. He was an ass in Las Vegas. So that goes beside the point. But going back to what you call the Amelia Earhart offense, I'll definitely say that the Fairbanks Earhart
Carlton Banks Amelia Earhart offense.
Where you have a tight end that works well with the quarterback. I think we've already established that Davante Adams and the quarterback have a rapport. We can agree with that, Coach?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, I appreciate the platitudes, And we can also agree that Renfro, based upon his ascension through these years, and is going to be looked upon as that slot guy that the McDaniels has always employed. Okay, and with the rapport he already has with Carr, would be a vital cog. So you've already got the tight end set because of that Earhart Fairbanks offense, which McDaniels employs. Adams is already on sheet music with him. And I will take from Richie, I will gather that, the unknown factor is what is lacking. The Raiders need a 9 guy. And I know Coach Defense knows what, and people know, guy who runs a 9 route. All he has to do is run down the field. Okay, speed. Right now, I would say that Keenan Cole is that guy who's going to run the 9, because Adams is a fast receiver, but he's not a blazing fast receiver. He's a combination of a decent sized receiver, good speed, great route runner. Okay. So you need a 9 guy, because that's the one thing that the Raiders allegedly, and I say allegedly right now, don't have, because I think Keenan Cole is going to fit in with that. Remember also Fairbanks, Earhart employs the 2 tight ends, and you're talking about, like I said, will Moreau fit into that offense? Yes, he will. And then it just comes down to, if you're running 3 tight ends, is Derek Carrier going to be that guy? Because he has been that 3rd tight end historically the last couple of years. Or does he get supplanted as well? So I think in this offense, Sir Richie Richey and Sir Coach Defense, I submit to the jury that the Raiders offense, with the folks who catch the ball, notwithstanding the guys behind the quarterback, because I'm not going back linebackers and D-backs. I'm not even going to talk about the running back. But the guys on the line of scrimmage or just off the line of scrimmage are the best in the AFC West. I thank you. I submit my case. Go deliberate.
You want to take the next go round at this there, Coach?
Sure. So let's pick apart the semantics of what he just said. So you're saying without obvious production, because we haven't started playing football yet, that they are the most, I guess you could say, talented from start to finish, and you included Darren Waller in that argument. Now, if Richie's going to give a knock to including Darren Waller, and we're just talking pure receivers, I would say that taking Darren Waller out of the equation definitely hurts your argument, because if you look at it from a perspective, that Devontae Adams is a clear number 1 top 3 wide receiver. Yes, he is that. I'm never going to take that away from him. However, everybody else beyond that, including Hunter Renfro, is questionable from a production standpoint. Because the whole idea of quantify him with a poor man's Cooper Kupp and this, that, and the third, I don't know. And with the biggest caveat about this whole situation is that they're all coming into a whole brand new offense. And if we know anything about Josh McDaniels historically in New England, he's never been a person that treats Darren Waller or Devontae Adams as the milk, I guess you could say, the bell cow of an offense. He goes with the open man and exploits weaknesses and exploits matchups. So Devontae may go a game where he has 9 touches for 140 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he might have a 2-catch game. It just depends on how Josh McDaniels calls the offense and how Derek Carr facilitates the ball. So you have to look at it from that perspective as well. So I would think that the idea of taking Darren Waller out of it hurts your argument, because I really feel like he's a wide receiver.
Okay, I'll go with that, but I'm gonna let you.
Hold on. Let me finish. Can I finish?
Can I finish? Okay, I'm gonna let you be in on like that Texas guy who ran for president.
So I don't know who that is, but okay. Yeah, but regardless of that, I think that Devontae Adams is a clear number 1. Outside of that, I have questions. I really do. And again, everybody's learning a new system. Learning a new system versus playing in the system for a year or two is definitely a outlier in a sense that but you have to honestly truly play that into it. Again, like Carr and Adams, although they're good friends, they're best friends, they haven't never played together in the pro level as well.
Oh, horse.
There's a lot of
Hold on. I do have to. I have to kind of jump in a little bit there. Did you see Adam's presser?
Yeah.
No, he doesn't watch anything Raiders.
Because Adam's presser, he specifically stated that he and Carr had been working together the past 5 off seasons on their own.
Okay.
So I mean,
go ahead.
Look, I am certainly not trying to like defend the enemy here by any means, but at the same time, I think that if we're going to kind of lie a chemistry question on the table and saying, hey, they haven't done it at certain levels or haven't done certain things, I think that we've literally heard from the horse's mouth, so to speak, that the last 5 years in a row leading up to, I want to go play with that guy moment in this offseason, that he specifically and explicitly stated in the presser that he and Carr had worked for the last 5 years. So I don't think the chemistry is going to be as big of an issue with Adams as I think people are making out to be. I do, however, think that your new offense kind of point and explanation or concern even is a completely valid one, because as much as we might think or we've seen Carr play in a similar offense, we don't know how Adams is going to, react to something like that. We don't know what the two of them together in that system are going to be able to produce. And moreover, the offensive line, can they hold up long enough in that style of offense? I'm not saying they're not good in that style of offense.
We got to thank you about the offensive line, but we were talking about the defensive line last week, and you had to throw your linebackers and safeties and cornerbacks.
No.
Not you, Richie. I'm talking at you, Coach.
I know who you're talking to, and I use that as a quantifier to just give my ranking. I didn't use it as diary or why I say they're the best. I didn't say they're the best D-line. Simple fact they have a better linebacker core. I said that it breaks the tie. Is a context what I said. I didn't say that all that matters. I said the D-line stands on its own. They're one of the best groups in the division, if not the best. But however, what breaks the tie between them and the number 2 man on my list was the idea that they're going to be more productive. I think I didn't use the word production. I think they're going to be the best. They have the most productivity out of all the D-lines in the division, because for the simple fact that they have a better back end than most teams in the AFC West. That's why I used that as an argument. It wasn't using it as a reasoning or the sole reason why they're better. It's just a quantifier or a tiebreaker for them having a better overall line than the Raiders had. That was my whole argument with that. But again, going back to the argument about wide receivers, college ball and practicing on air is one thing, but when it comes down to chemistry, timing, and ability to get the ball off before you get sacked, all matters, and it's different, and it's in the shorter time window than it is when it comes down to playing pro ball versus college. You and I can throw the ball on air all together. We got the greatest chemistry in the world, but when you're under fire in the actual game, that's completely and totally different. So that's a wait and see.
Okay, yeah, that is a wait and see, but it's also wait and see when it comes to when Herbert goes out week 1 with a hangnail, and you got to go on your backup quarterbacks thing, so everything's wait and see. But if we're gonna take the tight ends out of the equation, I throw at you, pun intended, Demarcus Robinson, Keelan Cole, Mac Hollins, who is a very, very good possession receiver, plus pretty fast, free agent from the Miami. Cole, free agent from the Jets. Demarcus Robinson, free agent from the Chiefs. Too bad Alex isn't here, because I know he couldn't wait to get rid of him. Tyron Johnson, who I know you know about because he's that speed guy that used to play for the Garglers and never got a chance. Okay. Mm-hmm. So if we're going to go, if we're going to take back the tight ends that we did, and again, I had to take this because I got a bunch of windows up. Okay. That's why I'm flailing here. If you're going to go with all those, we're just going to take the tight ends out of the equation. Okay. I still submit, with all those people mentioned, our wide receivers are the best in the AFC West. Period. period. What is that? Period, stop, non-comma, stop. What Richie always says.
Full stop, period.
Thank you. Full stop, period, end of paragraph, end of paper.
So the only thing that I do want to bring up, and Jason, I appreciate the kind and aggressive word all at the same time. But this is actually where I think there's a legitimate question with regards to Darren Waller in terms of his fit in the overall offense. And if you want my hot take, I actually think the Raiders might trade him. And here's why. When you look at what Josh McDaniels has had in terms of successful tight ends at the NFL level, they have typically been more of the Moreau mold, if you will, that have done well than they have been of the Waller mold. And let me just quickly elaborate, because I do want us to get to all of our teams here just so we can go into it. But Waller is a prototypical pass-catching tight end and is not known for his inline blocking. The reason why that's important is that in New England, when they adapted their offense on a week-to-week basis, which they did for almost all of their opponents, Captain, you mentioned that a few times as well, they use Gronkowski in line as a blocker, as an additional lineman on huge swaths of plays. Not just one or two, but I mean, there was full drives where Gronkowski was literally just another lineman and did not catch a ball or move off the line. Mm-hmm. And I am not convinced that Waller could fill that type of role and be that type of dynamic player. And the reason why I think that's relevant and important is that if you have a guy that cannot inline block, it kind of tips your hand, right? Where you're saying, well, he's not going to block on the line, so then the defense can kind of shift and adjust accordingly. And that's kind of where I'm not saying I'm concerned. I'm just saying that I think if I was a Raiders fan, I'd be concerned.
No, you actually a valid point. And Coach, I apologize for being. I love getting in it with you, man. You and me got that great rapport together of all these argumentative stuff. So it's good. And actually, I'm glad that you put that up because I was gonna put. By the way, love the name. There is no better name in this group than Mundungus Creevy. I salute you, sir. And I will be in Denver this year. So I found out I got tickets to the game. And so I will be in Denver this year for the Raiders at Broncos game.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, I think honestly, truly, I think your argument is stronger if you had Waller in the argument because I think Waller is, again, a wide receiver in a tight end's body. I almost was give you, the reins as far as having the best receiving core on paper if Waller's in the argument. But if Waller's not in the argument, it kind of makes it weaker. I actually like the guy Brian Edwards that y'all traded. I'm surprised y'all traded him. I just think he didn't get a chance. I think if you had him, Waller, Renfro, and Adams, then yeah, I don't think I could argue it. I'm surprised you traded him. In all honesty, the other guys are kind of journeymen. DeMarcus Robinson included, Keelan Cole, they're kind of journeymen. They've been bouncing around and haven't really stuck anywhere. So, that gives kind of discredits their ability to be, land in Vegas all of a sudden they're Pro Bowlers, that kind of thing. So
I never said they were Pro Bowlers.
No. I'm just jumping to the extreme when I say that they're going to come in and be different than they were from what previous teams they played on. But yet again, I think that y'all are talented. Again, it's just a matter of the idea of having the idea in hand that you have a new offense and everybody's on the same page. Like everybody started from page 1. There's nobody starting on page 5 and 10. Everybody's on page 1 because McDaniels is brand new to everybody. So that plays into it. But Devontae Adams' production is unrivaled when it comes down to who's on your team. He's the clear number 1. To me, Waller's your second best receiver, but he's not in the conversation. Renfro is a slot gadget guy, yes. And everybody else is, I'm kind of like, I don't know.
So Coach, sliding right over to your team, the Chargers, where do you think they stack up in terms of the various positions? So you have your young quarterback who arguably needs to show out this year. I mean, I think that's a fair comment to make. He needs to show out this year, and he needs to show at the very least in terms of finishing the season that he can overcome some of the typical challenges that the Chargers have had, where do you think your wide receiver core fits in terms of helping your team rankings and weaknesses as well?
Well, I like Mendungus' comment about the Broncos' core potentially being better. I guess, but that all depends on when you get on the field. I feel the same thing about the Chargers. I feel like that, and of course, this is going to raise Cap's eyebrows when I say this, and I think we just discussed this in argumentative talk in previous podcasts. But I feel like when you come down to production, I think Devontae Adams and Keenan Allen are 1A, 1B. I really think from a production standpoint, they can both get it done, and they get it done in the same facet. They're really elite route runners, tall, rangy, 100 plus catches in the last 5 years. Every season been over 1,000 yards except for one. They've both been to 5 straight Pro Bowls. So, I mean, the numbers are there. So I think that if you want to put up who's going to be more productive, I think they're going to be neck and neck when it comes to those two guys. When it comes to Mike Williams, he's the I wouldn't call him a deep threat, but he's a 50-50 ball, go up and get a guy. He's a good possession / high catch radius, big target kind of guy. So I think that's a talent that can't be coached. So I think that's wildly productive. Now, when you get to who's after that, clearly we're not classifying Gerald Everett in this conversation because I think he's a really good, underrated, physical tight end. I have questions. So, I can't honestly truly give the Chargers, the straight up nod to saying they're the best in the division because, I think Keenan Allen is talented and I think Mike Williams is talented. But after that, we have questions. Jalen Guyton has been looking really good in camp, but I'm not going to give him credit for looking good in camp. I need to see it on the field. He can be a really good slot receiver, but yet again, I need to see a full season, on second year in this offense again under Lombardi and be productive and be that guy and supplant his feet and the idea that I'm going to be the number 3 receiver on this team. And then Josh Palmer, our second year wide receiver out of SEC, he's showing signs again. He's showing signs of growth in camp, but yet again, he had a couple of small little plays here and there in the previous season, but what is he going to do on the field? So from a production standpoint, I think we have the ability because we are, and every guy named is going to be year 2 in their division, in their division, in their system. Lombardi's going to be, the playbook is not foreign to them, so they should be a year better. So I think production, I think we have a great chance of being the best wide receiving core in the league, but I'm not going to give them the top spot because yet again, I have questions outside of 1 and 2. So, because I mean, if you just do 1 and 2 receiving core top to bottom, I think Mike Williams and Keenan Allen are up there, but I would give the same credit to Adams and Waller, it being up there from a production standpoint. So I think if you put their numbers up against each other last year and this year, I think it could be the same. So it's kind of a push. So, I don't know exactly who I'll put number 1, to be honest with you, but I will put the Chargers at 2. No matter who you put at 1, I'll put them at 2 based upon what our questions at 3, 4, and tight end, because I think Gerald Everett's going to be good, but he's not in the conversation because we're not talking about tight ends.
Actually, I like Palmer as well, and Guyton,
I do. I love him.
Guyton has showed me a lot. I had to pull up Warlad so I would talk intelligently about the things. But I mean, Keenan Allen is he's not quite Devontae Adams. He's he's like the Pepsi Light version or Coke Light. He's not Devontae Adams.
Yeah, I think Devontae Adams has a leap over him because he has way more touchdowns every year than Keenan Allen does. But yardage wise, they're neck and neck.
Well, again, I like Keenan Allen, but he's not Devontae Adams. Okay,
yeah, I didn't say that.
Mike Williams is if he could be consistent, okay, if he could be consistent, you would get an upgrade in your. I wanted to make sure I wasn't freezing. You would get an upgrade in your receiver core, but I think Palmer. Now Palmer. What was he? Is he an Alabama boy as well?
No. Tennessee, I believe.
Yeah, I knew he was SEC. But yeah, because I seen him in there as well. But again, I'm sorry, and again, that I'm not biased because I'm very analytical. That's why I said last week, I'm going to give the Chargers the best defensive line based upon analytics, based upon the full picture. But realistically, I'm still going to say the Raiders have a better receiver core than the Chargers. And oh, by the way, I like the Broncos receiving core. And there's your good segue there, Richie, because again, I think that, like I said, with the receiving core of Judy and Hamler and the other kid whose name escapes me, they have the ramifications of being that up and coming as well.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think that if you put up wide receiver to wide receiver, I really think that production wise, especially if we do just last year's numbers, I think that I would take Mike Williams over Hunter Renfrow. But and I guess again, numbers wise, I think Keenan Allen or Devontae Adams are similar. I said Devontae Adams and when he's playing in Green Bay and being force fed the ball, I think he has way better touchdown numbers than Allen does. But again, I mean, from a yardage and production wise, again, 100 plus catches, over 1,000 yards, 11, 12, 1,300 yards in certain seasons. Keenan Allen's touchdown numbers aren't as high as Adams. But again, from a production standpoint, I think there is a slight push. But numbers wise and touchdown catches, I'm sure that Mike had more touchdown catches than Renfrow did last year. And yardage is most likely as well. I have to look it up, but I will put that.
You're asking Williams to be that guy. They're two totally different receivers in what they are asked to do.
Oh, I agree with that. Now, we're talking schematics. That's a whole different ballgame.
Right. And like even Ozzie said it. Yeah. Take Renfrow over Mike Williams because, again, the last time I recall, does Mike Williams always get the first down on third down? Numbers-wise, no. But Hunter Renfrow certainly does, numbers-wise. It's a mixture, or sorry, not a mixture. It's your apples to our oranges. Okay.
Yeah, in a sense, yeah, I can get with that. I can get with that. But again, like I said,
I mean, the last segue I saw from the Denver.
Go ahead, Rich.
Go ahead.
I was going to say that. I mean, it's just a wait and see for me. Who's going to be that next guy? I was just going to say
the last.
Can you hear me?
Did you freeze too? No.
Yeah, I can.
I didn't freeze. Yeah, I thought Rich froze. Everybody good?
Yeah, for a second. Rich, you here? Okay.
It's like he's delayed though.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, it's like he's delayed. Now he's slurred. His voice is slurred.
Richie, you can't drink during the show, man.
We're gonna get a delayed laugh too.
You're not allowed to drink during the show, man.
Grandma Ye too. That's a good stuff.
Yeah, hey, here's to you, Coach. There you go.
Is that age Grandma Ye?
No, I need to get some. I've been told that is the bomb diggity, but it's still good.
Okay, I got you. Yeah. Now we have a frozen Rich. Oh, he's delayed. He's moving his head slightly.
What's microdose?
I don't know. Got me on that one. Easy got me on that one. But yeah. I guess we could just talk crap about the Broncos receivers until Richie comes back in full force.
So I'm right here. I'm just listening.
Oh, okay. All right. So, shrooms.
Microdosing is when you take small amount of shrooms, and apparently it's good for you.
Oh, is it? Okay, yeah.
Okay, I think apologies.
I might be a little too old for that one too. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, I actually got a question for Kat.
Like I was saying, the last segue I saw in Broncos country was Elway being drunk on one.
Oh, really? When was
Elway
this?
Being drunk on shrooms?
Oh, there's video. It's. We'll just say it's unflattering. No, not on shrooms. He was drunk. But he was drunk on a Segway. It was interesting. But or is it scooter? Either way. Either way, it was a thing.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so let's talk about this.
That is watching Joe Namath trying to pick up Susie Colbert on a Monday night game.
Oh boy, yeah, that was cringeworthy.
I will kiss you.
Yeah. That was pretty
Go ahead, Rich.
Yeah, I think he's still lagging a little bit because I think his feedback is not as in sync with ours. Yep. Yep. There it goes. Yeah.
I did not do that. I swear. So until Richie gets back,
the summer weather don't want us to be great. I just want to say that because you had a power outage last week. Now he had one.
I was out for 40 minutes or so.
Yeah, that was rough.
Yeah. Okay, I'll tell you what, Coach. Until Richie's going to come back. Do both of us want to attack? And I'll pull up the depth chart for the Chiefs. Did we want to do like a tag team on the Kansas City Chiefs?
Yeah, let's do it. In Alex's honor, let's do that.
Yeah, let's do that because I know Richie will be back.
Oh yeah, he'll be back.
Okay, and again, straight out of Orlads, and I got it right over here. That's why my head is kind of turned this way. Gotcha. I gotta say that I am impressed with the two free agent acquisitions that they got. Okay, and if Josh Gordon could ever. And I'm going to pull out my best. What's his name? A. Steven Smith. Okay, there you go. A. Steven Smith. Stay off the weed. Okay. If we can get the we went out to the Chiefs while you were there, Rich. You want to do or do you want to do the Broncos? And we'll go back to the Chiefs. We just started, so we didn't really go anywhere yet.
Right.
We can dive into the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are an interesting case. They've lost a lot of people, and then have tried to backfill their core.
Well, that's what I was saying. Is that I'm very impressed with the fact that
and so ultimately, when you lose that many people, you're then left in a.
You there, Rich?
Still having technical difficulties. I'm not sure you can hear us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Yeah, he's having technical difficulties. He's freezing and everything. The picture's getting blurry and everything.
Okay. I tell you what, Rich, while you get squared away. Yeah, we see you. You're blurry and fuzzy.
Yeah, we can see you, John Cena.
Yeah. I said, and what I was talking about is, yes, they lose Tyreek Hill, okay, but they do pick up Marquez Valdez-Scantling, which was a fine. Juju is going to be a remarkable receiver for them as like that third option.
You think so?
Yeah, I really do. I think he is because Mecole Hardman, I think, has been waiting to break out for a long time. Yeah, they lost Hill and they lost Pringle, but I think that Juju in that offense will be that guy that is he's the valuable person that will catch the things that are thrown to him.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I got questions about Scantling and Juju just based upon their past history. They didn't land with other, air quote elite quarterbacks. So will they land in KC? And it will tell a story about how, was it really Hill or is it Mahomes that was doing all the magic in a sense too? Because again, you have a committee wide receivers that aren't Tyreek Hill, but you get rid of one and you bring in I guess you can say a quartet of different receivers to replace him. So anybody will live up to the closeness of what Tyreek Hill's production was. That's the question.
Well, I take a page out of the Oakland Athletics in Moneyball. Okay. You lose Giambi. Okay. And you lose this guy, but you bring in this guy. Why? When I point at you, because you get on base, right? Remember, when I point and snap, you got to say because they get on base or they get hits.
Right.
Okay, because they get hits. And I think that with them losing Pringle and with them losing Hill, obviously mostly Hill is their Giambi. Okay. And losing Pringle, who is actually coming into his own, I really think that bringing in MVS because again, he was with Rodgers last year, and he had that elite quarterback. And I think that having Mahomes there to force feed him the ball, and you got to say that Mahomes is a hell of a lot better than the statue that Ben Rapist pervert. Well, oh, did I say that out loud?
You did.
Yeah. Ben, whatever his last name is, but did I had his name correctly? Was with Juju. And if Juju can just get out of his own way and not be a pain in the ass, I think that he will be better for them. And again, like I said, I love McCole Hardman, not literally, because he's on the Kansas City Chiefs, but what he brings to the equation, he's fast, he's productive, and they needed to use him more often, but he got overshadowed by Hill. He's going to be coming into his own as a Chief this year. I really think so.
I wonder.
TikTok Schuster?
Yeah, that's the same guy. Same guy.
Okay.
Yeah, same guy.
So Juju TikTok Schuster is who you're talking about.
Yeah, him. Yeah, that guy.
Oh, okay. All right.
Hasn't been the same.
Out of his own way.
Yeah, hadn't been the same since he started doing TikTok. Actually, hadn't been the same since Antonio Brown was his number one receiver. That's what I'm concerned about. Because I mean, again, the production just hasn't been there. You can blame Ben, you can blame the line, you can blame the Steelers organization or the offense that they were running, but again, he had multiple years without Antonio Brown. He was never the same. You can argue he had one good season. Why is he on a prove it deal now? So that's I have questions about that. I wonder if that they're going to be productive. Again,
he needs to prove he's not a Robin.
True. Very
right?
true.
I'm not even saying that to be crass or rude. I'm being quite serious.
Yeah, that's it. Because he want to be paid like a number one receiver, he has to be productive like one.
Yeah. He wants to be paid like Batman, but right now he's only proven that he can be a good Robin.
That's fact.
Not even that. Right? He's not even Robin. He's not even Commissioner. He's not even Commissioner Gordon.
Oh
no, that's not true. When he had Antonio Brown, who was a true Batman wide receiver,
definitely a Robin.
He was a good wide receiver with the Steelers. And as soon as he lost the but you're missing the point. Ultimately, is the fact that Juju attempted to then try to say, "Well, now I'm Batman."
Juju is Catwoman.
Yeah. And I like DZ. And DZ got Mike because they get hey DZ, I'm pointing at you because they get on base.
He said Juju is Catwoman. That's a great one, DZ.
So I'm Canadian, so that's DZ.
Oh, DZ.
And,
okay.
I have to say that there may have been the comment of the episode.
It is.
Thank you for that. That's hilarious. Yeah. It really is. It's absolutely hilarious. But I do actually look at what the Chiefs are doing here, and Kevin, I think your point's well taken. Is they lost a guy, and then they said, "I know the solution. Bring in 6 others and see what sticks."
You're right.
And generally speaking, when you do something like that and you're not doing something with purpose, it rarely works, right? And so I do think that when you're talking, in my opinion at least, receiver cores, the Chiefs are probably at the bottom of our division overall when you look at what they have.
Okay.
I agree with
that. And so I'm going to take that as an opportunity, since Alex isn't here, to segue over to the Broncos.
Okay.
And now that I actually had 2 power outages there, guys, so I do apologize. I have a generator, so it kicks in really quick, but there's still a blip, so it still kind of messed some stuff up.
Did you see my Chris Tucker to you, brother? I was talking to you.
I heard little snippets, and it was like you were Mr. Roboto there for a while, and I know you know that song.
Yes.
No more
Roboto. And I can't stand that. That's the one song on that album that basically the whole album sucked, but that was the worst song on that album.
Well, it makes for a great drinking game. But anywho, it's kind of like Roxanne, right? But with regards to Denver Broncos wide receivers, I have the wide receivers themselves, but I also think what's important is the style of wide receiver as it compares to the quarterback. Now, I'm not going to go into analyzing our quarterback and all that kind of nonsense, because then I would fall into the same trap that both coach and captain kind of fell into earlier. I'm also not going to include the tight ends in any of my comments because they're only partially wide receivers. I'm only talking about receivers. So our kind of wide receiver one on the one side is Cortland Sutton, and our wide receiver on the other side is Tim Patrick. For a lot of people that are outside of Broncos country.
Hold on, Paul. So Judy is a slot guy?
Judy's technically
in the slot.
Oh, okay. Oh, news to me. Continue, please. I got to hear this.
Yeah,
so,
no, he is.
Judy was always, or should have always been, but then was often used in the wrong positions in the Shermer offense where they try to throw him outside. But when you look at Judy's skill sets and his quick breaks out of routes and his route running skill set, he really is truly better suited in the slot role. What Judy always struggled with is the quarterback not leading him properly. And this was really Drew Lock's biggest weakness, was that he didn't really read and then throw anticipatory throws. Drew Lock was a see guy open, throw guy to where he is open. And that's kind of a key. I was very specific with my words there. Whereas Russell Wilson, I would argue Derek Carr to a large extent as well. Herbert is still learning this. That's where we saw some challenges, if you will, in some of the games last year. But generally, Herbert has picked up on that as well, which is you need to throw guys open. So you need to lead your receiver at the NFL level by a slight margin to allow them to run and catch the ball in stride. And I think that Russell Wilson can do that with Jerry Jeudy. And I think that that's where you're going to see Jeudy finally show a little bit of a leap. But he also has to hold on to the ball, and that's basically all on him, that's on him, not his quarterback's problem. That's on him to hold on to the ball.
Thank you.
But so I have Tim Patrick and Cortland Sutton. There is on the 5280 podcast, there was a few folks that kind of brought up who they thought would be truly breakout players and whatnot. I still think that we're going to see Tim Patrick just blow the doors off in this offense. He rarely, if ever, gets hurt. And he's the type of guy that you just kind of throw the ball in his general zip code and he catches it. And
6'4", so I mean that I would like to believe that he does. That's wild. 6'4" and blazing fast.
Did you see the stats from him from last year and the year before? He had some of the fastest top end speeds in stride of almost all. Like he was in the top tier of some of those wide receivers in top end speed. From a wide receiver position, which is remarkable that he's like 6'4" and like 220 something.
212,
yeah.
212,
Yeah.
and runs like 340.
I don't know if you've seen him. I think he's probably closer to the 220 range. But
he put on weight this offseason? Did he put on weight?
I think he was always in and around that range, to be quite honest.
They say his playing weight is 212 was what I read. His playing weight is 212.
Yeah,
right,
I'm sure.
Right,
Yeah, okay.
There you go. Right.
But and I'm not even saying that he's like large. He's a big dude and he can run really fast, right? So he has that mismatch ability. He also has the ability to do the high point type catches, which I think is an important piece. And then we have Jerry Jeudy, who's the slot wide receiver one, and then KJ Hamler, who's really struggled with injuries. But in the block of time at the beginning of last season when he was healthy, he outperformed Jerry Jeudy by a country mile.
For sure.
A country mile.
That's
and I really think that a lot of people, just because he hasn't been on the field as often as I would have liked, or any I think of Broncos fans would have liked, he's being really overlooked in the overall narrative.
Not by me. I've known about KJ Hamler since he was at State.
He's a legit. And just two other quick people three people that I want to quickly just kind of throw in as kind of the back end of the roster, that for those of you who are not Broncos fans, I really think that you should at least know their names, because I expect them to do some interesting things at the NFL level and they could really surprise some people. The two that I'm going to bring forward are Kendall Hinton. You might remember him as our quarterback 5 when we played. He's a Hall of Famer. He's a Hall of Famer in the New Orleans Saints game. where we lost all 4 of our quarterbacks, including the practice squad guys, and we had to play a wide receiver at quarterback. Kendall Hinton was a quarterback in college for a brief period before he transitioned to wide receiver. He has really had some great moments during OTAs, and I think he's kind of being overlooked for his progress and growth at the wide receiver position. But the 2 other guys that I really think need to have some focus put on, and one of these guys may not ever even make the roster and could very well get picked up by another team. So just something to keep in mind. I see one of these guys turning into the Detroit Lions return guy that we had, which his name escapes me again. He's a shorter dude out of a Christian college. I can't remember the name of it, but he really is a stellar wide receiver. But we have 2 guys, Montreal Washington, who was on the 5280 podcast on MHRT Network, probably about 3-4 weeks ago now. And then Jalen Virgil. So Jalen Virgil was a UDFA, but he is, again, a speed guy. And Washington is both a speed guy and a polished route runner. I could see one or both of those guys turn into like returns guys, and then perhaps even replace KJ Hamler if he can't stay healthy in that kind of like real legit speed role that we've seen within our division and guys like Tyreek Hill. So that's the Broncos wide receiver room. But I do want to quickly compare that to the quarterback, which I think is where it really separates good from great and average production from exceptional production. Some of the stats of Russell Wilson coming out of the Seattle Seahawks, which is obviously where we have the sample size for him from his playing days at the NFL level. Russell Wilson's traveling 25 yards or deeper, so the long throws on the football field. He has one of the highest completion percentage and success rates of throws of that nature at the NFL level. His completion rate is 41.8%. He has a total in his career of 6,400 yards and 53 touchdowns of throws of that nature. And where I think the Denver Broncos can bolster those types of stats and perhaps even improve them is we have 2 wide receivers in our wide receiver room in Tim Patrick and Cortland Sutton, who are both between 6'3" and 6'4". So what that does for those long throws is that window when you're throwing down the field has now gone up in terms of height. So I believe that truly helps a quarterback, particularly one who is not as vertically inclined as, say, a Derek Carr or certainly a Justin Herbert, who's quite a tall gentleman. I think that's a big deal. And I think that can really help with those types of stats. And Tim Patrick, I'm telling you guys right now, with a guy like Russell Wilson and having that flexibility, I think he truly is someone to look out for.
No, I hate Tim Patrick.
You hate him? You hate him?
He's that darn good, isn't he? He's that good.
He is that good.
I definitely share that sentiment. I mean, again, you can't coach 6'4", 212 with a 4.3 40. You can't coach that.
And he rarely misses games, and he rarely misses balls. I've seen him drop.
He doesn't drop passes.
In my recollection, I've seen him drop 1 pass.
See, there you go. There you go. So,
1.
Yeah, I guess.
Whereas Jerry Jeudy drops the pass as soon as he comes out of the break.
That's sad. Okay. That's sad. I like Jerry Jeudy coming out of college. I really want to see him do good. I really do. I mean, I think he's a really polished route runner. It's something that you need to be said about a kid coming out of college being a polished route runner, and Jerry Jeudy was that for me. You know, I really think that he can be good again if he just focuses on his concentration drops. And I think that's his biggest Achilles heel right now. No pun intended. I want nothing to have your Achilles, Jerry. I might draft your fantasy, so I need you whole. But regardless of that, it's one of those things where the receiving core, I like it. I mean, it's young, it's talented, it's gifted. And then what I like about the Broncos receiver is that this might be a difference maker from other receiving cores in the division is that you have different skill sets at different positions. Like Cortland Sutton is a big, tall possession guy. Yep. Judy's a route runner. Patrick is a strong, go up and get it, 6'4", speedy guy. So everybody nobody infringes on the other roles. Like again, for the Chargers, we have a slew of possession receivers and one speed guy. Everybody does the same job except for Guyton. So that's the only thing I didn't like about the idea of us not picking up a speed receiver in the offseason. because we don't have a guy that can stretch the field outside of Guyton. So if Guyton goes out of the game, you kind of know that nobody's getting behind you and under the 2-3 seconds from a speed perspective. But when it comes down to the Broncos receivers, they have one or two guys that can just go vertical, and if you turn your back, he's gone. That kind of thing. But I think the only thing that bothers me is that, again, they're all starting fresh and they're unproven because they didn't have a quarterback. Like, I would have loved Russell to be the quarterback last year with this group, so we know exactly how good this group can be. So it's a lot of unknown for me with this group, how good they can really be from a production perspective, because they haven't had a quarterback to throw them the ball effectively. So we don't really know what the potential of Sutton is, and Judy and Patrick and Hamler. They could all be Pro Bowlers. They could all be duds. We don't know, but we're going to find out this year for sure. They do have the potential to be great, but again, without having a quarterback to quantify their production and their skill set, then it's hard to judge exactly how good they are right now.
I agree, and I think Mundungus really said it best, is that based on their actual skill sets, and this isn't me trying to look at this through the orange and blue glasses.
No, I agree.
Although it will certainly come off that way, but this is truly not that.
Yeah.
With height and speed combination between both Sutton and Patrick, and the ability for both of them to high point a ball the way that they both can, because they've proven at the NFL level that they can do it with a more than like a 1 or 2 game sample. Right.
Well, we got Drew Lock throw you the ball. You get what you get.
Right. Exactly. So, no, but that's exactly the problem, right? Is that you can't have the ball underthrown and then overthrown and then thrown too high and then thrown too low. And Drew Lock was always a raw quarterback prospect, and that was the challenge there. Well, now you have a polished quarterback back there under center. You have an accurate quarterback now under center in Denver. So to your point, this is, as far as I'm concerned, from my perspective, the Denver Broncos wide receiver core can literally, on a sliding scale, go anywhere from number 1, and remember, we're talking the whole core, because I actually think Denver overall has one of the deeper cores of wide receivers.
Oh yeah, that for sure. Yeah,
I truly believe that. I truly believe that.
No argument there.
And I think when you throw in a more competent quarterback throwing them the ball, that even though on their own, each of the individual wide receivers might not be a Devontae Adams, and certainly does not have the accolades of someone like a Keenan Allen, who's been in the league for as long as he has. But when you look at the complete room as a whole, because that's what we're talking about here,
right?
With a competent quarterback, I think there's the potential that they can go anywhere from like the number 1 wide receiving core to, they could even end up sliding all the way down to like number 3, because I still don't think we're ever going to be as bad as the Chiefs, but you never know. And that's all that all depends on how well they adapt and perform within the new Denver Broncos offensive scheme.
Right. Can I say this? And I think it might be one rare time that we all agree that we could be having a completely different conversation about who's good and who's not at the end of the season. Like this preseason conversation, we could be having a totally different conversation about who's the 1 and who's 4 at the end of the season based upon production. Because again, you have a Raiders organization with a new coordinator, new head coach, new receivers. Only thing that's still Carr and Renfro and Waller, the only incumbents. The Broncos have a brand new quarterback with the incumbent receivers and a brand new offensive coordinator and head coach. So that's something you have to play into it as well. Where the Chargers in retrospect have pretty much the same receiving core, the same quarterback, and the same offensive coordinator. So those conversations could be, you could be talking, all of us could be top 1, 2, or 3 just depending on the numbers, and the Chiefs will more likely still be 4. But again, it's a wait and see with the Chiefs. But again, I think they have a decent room, but it's a wait and see. Andy's a genius, yes. Offensively, yes, he does things that nobody can really truly grasp their mind around from offensive perspective. But when you have a 4-2 guy versus a 4-5 guy, the offense runs different. So it's a wait and see.
100%. So, I mean, we kind of covered all the wide receivers. We've typically seemed to have all agreed that the Chiefs have made major declines in a downward direction with those that they've lost, and the kind of throw spaghetti at a wall and see if it sticks methodology that they've typically or generally followed this particular offseason. And I think that the Chiefs are in an odd position where they have the established quarterback that has proven that he can win games, but because everyone else around him is relatively new, with the exception of, say, Kelsey and a select few others.
Well, just Hartman, really.
No, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
That they're in a weird spot that almost, due to attrition on the team.
Did you say doo-doo?
What?
I knew you weren't gonna let that go. I said Cap was gonna say something when he heard you say that. I knew you weren't gonna let that go.
What doo-doo?
I'm sorry. I just couldn't. I mean, it's like he's a doo-doo man.
I think he meant do too. I don't think.
I know.
Do-doo. He likes making fun of my Canadian accent because I pronounce words differently.
Never.
And
oh yeah,
I'm sure.
Is it raining?
I would never said that to you.
Is it raining in Florida? Because I think lightning's going to hit you, Cap.
Look. For the benefit of the entire audience, we'll just go through the Canadianisms. I'm going out and about to take out the garbage, and then after that, I'm going to have a chocolate bar on my red roof. So I think I've just covered every single weird, wonky Canadian pronunciation for all of you joining us.
And you're going to pay for it with a loony.
No, a toonie, because we're just that weird here. Yeah, we're just that weird here. Because who needs a $2 bill? So with that in mind, moving on to yes, the Queen's English. Top of the morning to you. But with regards to the news around the NFL, and just kind of quickly polish off the wide receiver pieces, I think all of us have typically agreed that based on the loss of players and those that they have acquired for the Chiefs, that we all kind of believe that they're at the bottom. They're sitting at number 4 in the division.
Yeah, I think we all agree with that.
Yeah, and then I think that 1 to 3, we could all see the remaining 3 of our teams sitting within that, depending on play.
True.
And I think that if true analytics were to be applied to the Raiders as well, that would certainly be a possibility. It may be unlikely when you have someone like Devontae Adams who's just that good, but I also think
Keenan Allen is just that much less.
Right, but at the end of the day, you still have to have other people around the wide receiver to take pressure off, to allow for schemes to adjust and shift. So I think 1 to 3 is a bit of a coin flip at this point, until we start seeing some games played on the field. And I think we can collectively agree that that's a likely possibility. And probably within the first, 5 games, I think that's fair, 5 games, because that at least gives you some time to both do really well and potentially regress, that we'll have a pretty good idea where we're at.
I agree with Sharif, and that's been the lament of the Raider organization for all these years. You know, John three-point Gruden couldn't get it done.
That was one of his names.
That's why things are going to be different this year. Okay.
Right. And I do agree that McDaniels is certainly not that 3-point guy. He is
aggressive.
He is more aggressive when it is needed, but he's also very controlled when it's also needed.
True.
Right? I mean, what was that playoff game in New England? It was 2020, if I'm not mistaken, where they kicked it back to some of the most old school concepts. I mean, even the announcers were saying, I haven't seen that since the 50s.
Was that the game that they played against the Bills? It was the Pats and Bills, and they had like 3 pass plays?
Yeah, they had 3 pass plays, and then they played fullback and 2 running back sets, which that
was last season.
I'll be on. That wasn't last season. Yeah. That was the season before.
Yeah, it was. No, it was last season.
No, it was last season.
It was a win game. It was a windy game. It was like
50. Yes.
That was last season. Yeah.
Yeah, but they played. That's not even. I can't remember the name of that play, that lineup. But you have 2 running backs and a fullback.
Double wing.
Yeah, double wing.
Yeah. I think that's what it is. I think you're right. I think that's a double wing. But I mean, these are concepts that are just like, it's like speaking a different language than today's NFL. Like that was back when the Cleveland Browns were known as like the powerhouse at the NFL when they were just running the ball down people's throats, right?
Mm-hmm.
Otto Graham and Ollie Matson, baby.
Oh yeah,
right. And it's just a different style of. It's the old school style of football that you just don't see anymore. But yet McDaniels and Belichick just like, do you know what we're gonna do?
Take it back to the old school.
Yeah, like we're gonna throw back to something that none of these guys have ever seen in their lifetime, and they killed it. Now, moving on to other news in the NFL, we've seen some progress in some of the things that we spoke about last week or the week before. So we were talking about the Deshaun Watson cases that were going through the court system and some of that sort of news. We also spoke about the Commanders and the John Gruden lawsuit, that sort of stuff as well. So the other thing here is the Broncos have now officially announced or unofficially announced that there is an absolute that the Walmart group or the Walton Group, if you will, however you want to word it, has officially taken over the team or will take over the team. So where do you guys want to start?
Well, there's a lot. It's a lot to be talked about. In all, I mean, I think that the sell of the team is probably the one, I guess, clean topic that can just, you can kind of give your take on it and move on.
Certainly one way of putting it.
Yeah. But I, the Snyder, Commanders, scandal that has layers. So is the Deshaun Watson thing. So I mean, we want to lead with the Broncos sale. We can do that and then get into the scandal. I call it this off season of scandal and lawsuits. That's what I call it. The off season of scandal and lawsuits. So
sure.
So and start there maybe.
Yeah, well, and there's one other thing in the NFL news that we kind of hadn't brought up before was the Jack Del Rio comments.
Well, that plays in the Commanders' faux pas of the long list of transgressions.
Sure. However, Goodell was also before Congress.
That was today. Yeah,
and that was today. And let's just say that there was.
Let me see. How much did he lie? You can tell when Goodell is lying because his lips are moving.
Jesus.
Well, then he lied a whole lot then because he spoke a fair amount.
Yeah.
So Goodell spoke in many circular reference, like he just spoke in circular responses. It was you could tell why he's the commissioner in some of his responses. And I'll kind of leave it plainly like that. It's rather interesting that Goodell, to me, in front of Congress, was claiming that he had no idea about X, Y, and Z, but yet he has every interest to try and punish people for other actions that are rather similar that are players. So I do question why I haven't heard from the Players Association, specifically with regards to some of Goodell's answers as it pertains to again, I'm trying to pull together the Jack Del Rio situation here, where Goodell basically claimed to know nothing about why Rivera.
I had to put it up there because I agree. Robert Carper, you and I agree on something, brother. I put it up there. I did.
So I actually question a little bit especially with the U.S. Constitution, the way that it's written and the fact that there are absolute rights. I often wonder how the NFL can get away with, or the Commanders in this case can get away with doing what they did with Del Rio, with the right to free speech being a right, like a fundamental right within the U.S. Constitution. Which I think is interesting. And I guess Del Rio just doesn't see it as in his benefit to push back from a constitutional perspective, whether or not he's allowed to say what he did, and not get fined $100K for it. What I would like to see.
$100K. I thought he did get fined $100K for it.
No, but my point is that if there is a fundamental right to free speech in the U.S. as part of your Constitution, I do wonder if there's a right for an organization to fine someone specifically for what they said if it does not actually violate the First Amendment.
Well, I now you can maybe chime in this from your lawyer background, but I was under the impression that free speech and the right to free speech only quantifies or only plays in truly when you're under prosecution or under the eyes of the law. Like the idea of free speech does not run rampant throughout the entire country. You can just go out there, say what you want to say, and do what you want to do as far as your speech is concerned without any ramifications. I didn't think that was it.
Saying you can't yell fire in a crowded theater and say, "Oh, it was free speech."
No, there's certain limits that are on free speech within the U.S. that have been societally agreed upon as framed reason, as in framed accepted societal norms. But I did find it rather interesting that a differing opinion on circumstance when he was asked point blank resulted in a fine, because it seems to me that if the reverse was said, like think of the exact reverse of what was said, I question whether or not anyone else would have been fined.
And
so if you look at,
I haven't even been told what he said. I just knew that he did something stupid, and it says that doesn't surprise me.
Right. So basically, what Del Rio said was he referred to. He was referring to the BLM, the Black Lives Matter, kind of both protests, and some will also refer to them as riots. And he kind of called those out as, where he saw images of businesses and whatnot burning. And then he then pivoted and then referred to January 6th using, we'll just say, language that was not particularly well accepted by a large group of people, where he referred to it as a dust-up, but then basically said that there was no fires or burning of buildings or burning of businesses or what have you. And there was obviously as a result of the fact that kind of goes against what the mainstream media narrative is of the situation, and certainly the accepted narrative by many, he was then basically held to task for his comments, and he was then subsequently fined $100,000 by the Commanders Organization.
So you up to speed now, Cap, about what he said and how it was received?
Yeah, and I heard. And not pandering to you, Richie. I heard Jack Del Rio did something stupid, and that's the short version, right?
Well, that's actually what the interesting thing is, though, right? Is that depending on certain perspectives or what your vantage point is certain people will have certain perspectives on situations that will differ from others,
right?
So I think what the question is that if someone differs from the mainstream, should they then be, or not even from the mainstream, but just differs from their employer's perspective, should then they be fined for the fact that they were asked a question and they gave an honest answer for them, but one that differs from their employer? Because that's really what this is, right? Is right. They basically fined him for having an opinion that they did not agree with.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing, though.
I don't, based upon what's going on in that building, I don't necessarily agree that they don't necessarily air quote not agree with what Del Rio said. I think there's some people in that building that do agree. I just think that it was such a PR nightmare. They had to do something from a disciplinary perspective. But I would argue that there's some people in higher ups in that building, in that front office, that believe everything Del Rio said was fine. They didn't have an issue with it. But yet again, you're such mired in controversy and scandal at this point from every facet, from the FTC to Congress to discriminatory, racial and sexist and exploratory conduct, that you have to do things air quote by the book because people have their eyes on you. And so I don't think it's a situation where they necessarily say that behind closed doors they don't agree with Del Rio. They just had to do something about it because it was a meteor firestorm. People immediately said, how do you quantify, how do you condemn the riots that happened from a George Floyd protest versus him saying that when a group tried to overthrow the government and murder a cop actually subsequently died, or cops subsequently died from the January 6th riot. It was a riot. It wasn't no dust up. It was a riot. So how do you give that a pass, but you condemn something else? So I think that was the issue people had with the whole situation.
Yeah, and so I mean, I think that's the interesting piece in all of this is the fact that if he had gone at the reverse, I do question whether or not he would have been fined at all, right?
Well, had he condemned the January 6th and not condemn the I don't know. I really can't say because
right.
Yeah, I mean, we not there, but I mean, it's still. I think that you can play both sides. I mean, there's something people can draw conclusions from what's wrong with the George Floyd protest versus the January 6th thing. So you can, depending on where you land on how you feel about those things. But to me, they were both incidents. And again, you can't brush over one and condemn the other and not get away with it. It's basically what the media was saying to him, and that's why they ultimately gave him a air quote $100K fine, which probably isn't much to him at all. But that's they had to do something from a PR perspective, and it wasn't necessarily about whether I agree or disagree. I just think they did it for PR.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I also think that that might help show that the organization is willing to change from a public. Well, I'm not sure that it did what they were hoping, but I don't
think it landed the way they thought it was going to land.
No, that's exactly it. I think that they felt that showing that they were willing to do that was going to land with the public opinion that the organization was on the right track in terms of changing to match what the public media narrative was.
I'm with you there. I'm with you there for sure. Oh man, that's a good one. DZ on fire today. I just want to point that out.
DZ wins the comments on the show tonight, hands down.
He does. He definitely does.
If there's a trophy for that on a weekly basis, DZ, thank you very much. You nailed it.
Definitely nailed it.
Yeah. Whatever you did today, whatever breakfast that you ate today or dinner, just do that again for next show, please. Because these comments are just, they're priceless. They're excellent.
And like I said, everybody here, DZ or DZ, Robert Carper, everybody here, make sure you watch all of our stuff because we enjoy having you on our show here, but we also love having you on our other shows because you're awesome. That's why we need you to come on over all the time.
Well, we actually had on the 5280 podcast yesterday, we had the actor from I think it's the TV show Inception.
Did you?
And he's a huge Broncos fan, so you can,
yeah, I see the correlation now. I'll get it.
Yeah, there's a meshing there. But that was a great show. That was just on last night. So it's on our channel if you guys want to check that out.
Okay.
5280, we really pull on all sorts of different content, including players as well as media members that are right into the NFL and the Broncos. And I know Captain kind of pulls in all sorts of players and whatnot as well. So even if you're not necessarily a fan of the team, it really is great content to see players that you kind of grew up watching, or even just people that you recognize, to kind of hear their perspectives on the NFL. Even Snoop Dogg, when you hear him talk about the Green Bay Packers and just the NFL and everything else, right. It's really remarkable to hear people that are in even a different income bracket by enough to notice by a lot, to hear that they enjoy a lot of the same things you do.
Well, it's interesting that Cap brought that up too about other people's shows, because we was on Saturday on Sports Talk, right? And I was saying that I might try to rope you guys in to do the AFC West breakdown, the divisional breakdown that we've been doing weekly. We going division by division, breaking down each division leading up to the season. So I said maybe I'll have Cap and Rich and those guys come on to do the AFC West breakdown, and Rob was all for it. Rob was like, I can't wait. I get Cap on there if nobody else, because I would have talked to Cap. Rob said it. Rob Carpenter. He said that he said he has to have Cap on there because he wanted to talk to Cap about the AFC West on Sports Talk. What's that?
Okay,
so, yeah.
Well, yeah. Hey, if I can make my schedule amenable, which is the greatest segue, and thank you for that, Coach, because I got to go.
Yeah. So do I. But yeah, that was definitely. I just want to give that a shameless plug about what Rob said on Saturday. I didn't want you to miss that. That he couldn't wait to get you on the show on Saturday to hear your back and forth about the AFC West.
Hey, Coach, make sure you got my. If you haven't gotten it already, make sure you got my. Make sure, because they're saying, "Hey, are you ready?" I'm listening to these pings right now. So
Gotcha.
yeah, make sure you got a way to get a hold of me, Rich and Coach and Alex in absentia. Right. Always a pleasure here at the Wild Wild West show, because we talk some real stuff. Hey, I didn't even swear.
Good job.
So with that in mind, guys, we're going to be continuing doing the AFC West Wild Wild West podcast every Wednesday. Next week, we are going to break down the running backs, so that all of our homework, was not for naught. However, if any of you have topics that you'd like us to break down from an AFC West perspective, please leave those comments below in any one of the videos that you're watching right now. We would love to hear that feedback from you. And if there's any other topics, even just outside of like position groups or, this versus that or whatever, again, comments down below. Our Twitter handles are variations of our handles here in the video that you see kind of below each of our video screens here. And until next Wednesday, guys, the Wild Wild West will be back with all four of us, I promise, on the podcast to break down everything AFC West, as well as position groups, news, and everything you want to know. And guys, thank you very much for joining us. You have yourself a wonderful night. We'll see you next week.